Okay, so today we'll talk about chapter 7. In chapter 7, we will cover units of measure. So, okay. So in the engineering discussion, no matter where you are, which engineering major you are in, but we always have to deal with the units. Everything has to be, meaning no matter what number you are writing, you will have to write a unit with the number, which is extremely important because without the unit, the things are so different. Like for an example, if I just say 3, it doesn't make any sense unless I say it's 3 miles or 3 feet. But the difference is huge. Look at the 3 feet. It's probably like, this much or something like this. But 3 miles is, you probably have to walk like for at least like half an hour or maybe a little bit more to pass 3 miles, right? If you drive in like 60 miles, at least like 3 minutes you will need to pass 3 miles. So that much different it is, but it's, it's just number is 3, but that doesn't make any sense. Similarly, so everything has to have an unit. Without unit, no sense. That doesn't make any difference. So, and also it's important that you should know how to convert between units. So there are some other ways of doing it, but here we just prefer, as you see, that we always prefer to have the simplest way of conversion. So what we do is to convert between units. For an example, somebody, let's say, said, I give you 3 miles. Can you tell me how many feet you have in 3 miles? There will be a lot of feet, right? As you can guess. So what we do is we use a conversion factor. Okay? Conversion factor is something like this. At the bottom you see all these are some sort of conversion factor. So for an example, the leftmost one is the conversion factor between feet and a yard. The next one, again between feet and yard. This is between feet and mile. This is between pound and ounces. So we use some conversion factor and we multiply the original number by the conversion factor and we get the right unit. But before we do that, these are the steps, but I'm not just going by the reading the line, but let's look at the example and probably understand it better. Later, if you want, you can read the rules. So for an example, let's say somebody gave us this and said, how many years you have in a mile? Okay? How many years you have in a mile? Now, first of all, you have 1 mile to convert, right, to yards. So what we do is this. We first write the conversion factor. Now let's say we are given this. We are given 2 different formula here. One is to convert from mile to feet. Another one is from feet to yard. Remember, in your question also in course, you'll be given those conversion. I'm saying those formulas, but you have to find the answer. But how do you do it? Now, to make it simple, let's say I first write 1 mile, because this is what I need to convert, right? This is what I need to convert, and the formula I'm given is, first one is what? It's between mile and feet, right? So now remember, using all the formulas, using each of the formula, we'll be making one conversion factor. Okay? So to make the conversion factor between, let's say, mile and feet, I'll make a fraction, right? Remember, it's a fraction, right? So I have to write the mile in either in numerator and denominator, and feet in numerator or denominator. But I should be careful a little bit because, for an example, I have mile here, right? And in my answer, mile will be ruled out. It will be cancelled. Okay? So since I'm converting the mile, in the conversion factor, I'll be writing mile at the bottom. Idea is You cancel the mile and mile. Okay? But 1 mile is what? 5,280 feet, right? That's what given in the question. 5,280 feet. So I just write 280 feet over 1 mile as our first conversion factor. This is what I write. But I'm not done yet, because if you do this, this will give you up to feet. But we need the yard in the question. Look at the question, how many yards, right? So we have another formula. Let's use it. Now, from that formula, 3 feet equals to 1 yard. I'll be again writing another conversion factor. But look at this. At the very end, I have to cancel out every single unit except yard, because the yard will be required in my answer, right? So what is left with right now? You are left with feet is here, right? Because the mile and mile got cancelled. So now that means what? You have to get rid of feet as well. To do that, you'll be writing the feet here, which is 3 feet at the bottom and 1 yard at the top. Because, you know, look at this, feet and feet get cancelled again. Now what you are left with is just do the math. I'm saying multiplication, division. What do you need? You get the answer, right? Which will be 1760 here for this question. And the unit is yard, because you are left with only yard. Everything else got cancelled. So pretty much we'll be writing the conversion factor such that everything get cancelled except the one you want. Okay. Similarly, in the next question, convert the 48 ounces to pounds. Excuse me. We are given the ounce, and we have to convert from ounce to pound. So what I did is we just again wrote the conversion factor between pound and ounce, right? But look at this. We have ounce here, and we have to cancel the ounce, right? So that's why in the conversion factor, we kept the ounce at the numerator. I'm sorry, at the denominator, so that they get cancelled. And we are only left with the pound. Okay? Let's see whether we understand some of these. 2 weeks equal to hours. How do you convert the weeks to hours? Let us think for a second and answer. Okay, so any answer? B, because what you will be left with at the end is the hours, right? So if you look at the B, look at this. The weeks and weeks get cancelled. Days and days get cancelled, and you will be left with hours. So, you know, this will show you that how you basically use the conversion factor, because as you can see in the other options, we have the right conversion, we have the conversion factor as well. But the problem is, if you cancel them, you will not end up with like hours. You'll not be able to cancel everything and then end up with hours, right? Because you want hours, and at the end, everything should be cancelled except hours. That's the trick. So, right answer, oh, excuse me. So, once I cancel it, what do? You multiply and divide how the other numbers are, right? So, pretty much here you have to multiply 2 times 7 times 24. And how many hours is that? So, the right answer is D, right? The last one. Again, we have hours now, and we want to know how many weeks we have in 1000 hours, right? The same trick. You will cancel everything except hours. You have to be careful that, I'm sorry, except weeks, right? So let's see. I think the first one was almost like, except the last one is a month. So we don't need month here because it's like a different question. So this one is not right either. So the right answer is the last one, which is C, because you see the hour and hour get cancelled here. Day and day get cancelled. So you'll be only left with weeks. But again, just like the previous one, you have to do the math. So 1000 has to be divided by 24, and again you divide it by 7. Or you multiply 24 and 7 and divide 1000 by that. How much you get? 1000 over 24 over 7. How much? D, 5.95 week. Okay. So the right answer is D. Just to make sure that, you know, some people do it in a wrong manner because they do like this. 1000 divided by 24 multiply 7. It's not multiply 7. It's divided by 7. Okay. Even if it is, these are 2 multiplied, but both of these are basically the denominator of 1000. Right. Okay. 20 mile per hour. Now you have multiple units inside one unit, because mile per hour means 20 miles per 1 hour. So you always write 20 miles divided by hour, but you know there is an 1 hour, but doesn't matter you write 1 or not. But say we want to convert it to kilometer per hour. Now this is the tricky part, that you have to cancel everything except kilometer and hour, because hour has to be there in the answer, but hour should be in the denominator position. So now at the beginning you see we have 20 miles here, we have hour here, and we have written the conversion between mile and kilometer, because 1 mile equals to 1.609 kilometer, right? So we have written that. But look at this, if you cancel the mile and mile, you'll be left with what? You'll be left with kilometer at the numerator, hour at the denominator. So that will be exactly what you need. So the right answer is 1. I'm saying A, the first one. So now you see you still have the hour at the bottom, right? My kilometer at the top. And if you do the math, all you need to do is 20 times 1.609, which will be the first one, right? A, 32.2 kilometer per hour, right? Let's see. If you solve this problem, what will be the unit? Can you check and see what unit you will be left with? If you multiply these 3, what will be the final unit? See, miles and miles get cancelled. Kilometer do not get cancelled. It doesn't get cancelled. Hour and hour get cancelled. It will be kilometer per minute, which is the right answer is C. Okay. If you do the math, how do you do it? You just multiply 40 times 1.609 divided by 30. I'm sorry, 60. So I think the answer would be 1.07. Is this 1.07? 67 or 07? So the right answer is B, right? Okay. Again, another similar problem. What unit you will be left with? You will be left with ounce, right? Which will be right. The right answer is D. If you do the math, you will be multiplying 20 times 4 times 2 times 16. That will be a big number, right? How much it would be? Is it? So the right answer is A, right? 2560 ounce. Okay. Now let's look at some other conversion. Now remember, in general, in conversion of this is the conversion over the metric line. Now in the metric line, this is your base point. If you go to the right, units are getting smaller. If you go to the left, unit gets increased. But every single thing get increased or decreased by 10. So pretty much, if you are here, that's 1, meaning the 10 to the power 0, which is 1. Anything to the power 0 is 1. If you go to your right, you pretty much every time multiply it by 10. I'm sorry, divide it by 10. So pretty much this is like 10 to the power minus 1, which is 1 over 10. And then 1 over 100, 1 over 1000. If you go to this side, it's just multiplying by 10. And you see, these are called engineering, these are called some sort of prefixes. Because instead of writing only mile, sometimes you write what? Kilomile. Now here, the mile is your original unit, but the kilo is the prefix. Okay. Similarly, hecto is a prefix. Deca, deci, centi, like what is it? Like what? Centimeter. The original unit is meter, but the centi is the prefix. Okay. So these are some relation of all sort of conversion here. Okay, but you can use the chart, or you always will be given in the question. But let's look at here, how do you convert it? So for an example, you have 5,000 meter and you are trying to convert it to kilo. Remember, the kilo means what? 1,000, right? So, and at the end you started at meter, at the end you want to have only kilo, right? So which might be the right conversion here? I think C is the right conversion, right? Because it's 500 meter here and 1 kilometer equals to 1,000 meter. So you wrote the conversion factor and meter get cancelled. You'll be left with kilo. And the answer will be 5, right? Another example here. 5 meter equals to millimeter. So milli means what? 1 meter equals to what? 1,000 millimeters, right? So B is the right answer, right? Because you are cancelling milli and milli. 1 meter equals to 1,000 millimeter. So it will be 5,000 millimeter. So the right answer is 5,000 millimeter, which is B. Okay, here is some example, that some rules, and then followed by some example that how you add or subtract numbers with the units. Meaning, whenever you have units, how do you add them? Okay. Now, first of all, whenever you add or subtract, units must be same. So if they are not same, you cannot add them. Like for an example, if you have 3 mile and 3 feet, you just cannot add them and make it 6. So what you need to do is you have to convert one of these so that both of the units are same first. Okay. So for an example, we showed some example here. Let's say you have, in the first example, you have 3 feet and 7 feet. So which are fine to add because both of those are same unit, right? You add them and you got 10 feet. In the second one, you have years here and you are adding feet. You cannot add yard and feet because they are different units. So what you can do is you can convert both of those. You can keep both of those as feet, meaning they convert the first one to feet and add them, which you did in the first line. Here we convert 3 years because we know that 3 years mean 9 feet because 1 year means 3 feet, and then we add them. We made 15 feet. Here we converted 6 feet into years, so now everything is year. We added years. So it's up to you, or it's up to how the question is being asked. Question might be asking everything has to be given in a yard or everything has to be given in feet, but all the units must be same, right? Let's look at a couple of examples here. Which is the right answer? It may have multiple right answer. You have 2 yard, 6 feet and 36 inch to add. So remember, when you add, you always have to have the same unit. Either all of these have to be in yard, or all of these have to be in feet, or all in inch. If we convert all of this in inch, this is 36 inch. This will be how much? 6 feet. So first of all, just from here you can see this is 1 yard, right? 36 inches, 1 yard. 6 feet is 2 yard, and this is 2 yards, so you add all the yard, you get 5 yard. So C is the right answer for sure. How about D? Because it's 36 inch equals to 3 feet. This is 6 feet already, and 2 yard equals to 6 feet. So we converted all of these into feet. We add that, which is also right. So pretty much the right answer is E, because answer C and answer D both are right. One, yeah, it might be one. But in pause, we always try to select the best answer. Not the good answer, the best one. So, how do you divide them? Now, in case of division, you can still divide and add, divide or multiply, even if the units are not same. But in addition to excuse me, in addition to the numbers, you also have to divide or multiply the units as well. Okay, so unit has to be divided or multiplied, but they don't have to be same in case of division and multiplication. Okay, for an example, this is, there is a typo here. This should be 6 feet. Okay, here let's say you are multiplying 3 pound times 3 feet. That's possible because you have, both of the units are different, right? But you should be able to multiply them. But what you need to do is, after multiplication you have 9, right? But the unit will be also multiplied. So pretty much you are multiplying pound times feet. It will be pound feet. Okay, so you can leave as pound feet because you cannot do anything else. So for an example here, the next one, you have 50 pounds divided by 2 inches square. You divide 50 by 2, you get 25. You also divide the units, so you will have like pounds per inch square. You will leave it as it is, but you are showing that this is a division. Pound is divided by inch square. Same is here. You are multiplying 3 feet, 4 feet, and 2 feet. What do you do after the multiplication? Units get multiplied as well. So you have feet times feet times feet, right? So that means feet cube. In case of subtraction, remember what happens in case of subtraction. The power gets subtracted, right? The top power gets subtracted by the bottom one. So for an example, 12 feet cube divided by 2 feet square. You see here, if you divide 12 by 2, it gets 6. But you also subtract the power, because they both are feet, they have powers. 3 minus 2, right? Because the power gets subtracted in case of division, right? In case of multiplication, the power gets added, because they have one power 1, right? Feet, feet, and feet. Let's do some example or quiz. What would be the unit here, the final one, after this multiplication? Okay, so pound will be there, but inch and inch get cancelled. One of the inch, no matter which one. So at the end, you'll be left with 1 pound at the top and 1 inch at the bottom. So it will be pound over inch, which is B, right? How about here? This will be only pound, right? Because the inch and inch get cancelled. Right answer is D. You are multiplying everything, which is This is C, right? Pound inch square, because you are not cancelling anything. It's pound inch, pound over inch, meaning pound divided by inch, so the right answer is B. Okay, now we'll see some more better example where you have you have to add, let's say, two different things, two different numbers, but in both numbers you have multiple units, meaning like compound units. For an example, here you have 7 hours 37 minutes 29 seconds. Here you have 17 hours 27 minutes 35 seconds, and you are adding. Now when you add, you basically start from the right side. You start here. So let's add first this one. 29 plus 35, that becomes 64 seconds. Now the problem with the 64 second is, if you pass beyond 60 seconds, you already got 1 minute here, right? The 60 seconds means 1 minute. So you subtract 60 seconds. It's originally 1 minute 4 seconds, right? Because you are just keeping 4 as second, and 60 seconds you convert it to minute. Similarly here, you have 64 minutes. You subtract 60 minutes because that makes 1 hour, right? And you have 4 minutes left. And here you are adding 24 hours, 17 hours is 24 hours. But here, look at this. You just write 4 seconds, and minute, in case of minute, you have 4 minutes here, you have 1 minute here. You add both minute to get 5 minutes. You have 1 hour here, you have 24 hours here. So you add both to make it 5 hours. So in total you have 25 hours, 5 minutes, 4 seconds. The tricky part is you start from the right side, and once you add, you might have something to convert again, because we have 64 seconds, which is like 1 minute 4 seconds, right? Because that 1 minute is added to the next column, left one, right? Similarly, in the middle column you had 64 minutes converted to 1 hour 4 minutes, right? So 1 hour is added here. So let's try this. If you add this becomes what? 18 inch, right? But how much inch will be here at the final? Because look at this, 18 inch means what? 12 inch is already one feet, right? 12 inch is a feet. So if you have 18 inch, you basically subtract 12 inch, and for the 12 inch, so you will be just writing 6 inch, right? Because the 12 inch will make 1 feet. So pretty much the 18 inch means 1 feet 6 inch. So that means in case of inch, you will be only left with 6. So the right answer is D. But the feet you got will be added to the feet column. So see, look at the total feet. You have 7,000 feet, right? But you got 1 feet from here in the right column. So the total feet is going to be 7,001 feet. But you again want to convert the feet into miles, right? So you got 6 feet here, but you have 7,001 feet, right? But look at this, 7,001 feet, but we know that 5,280, right? 5,280 feet makes a mile. So you subtract this. After you subtract, you will be left with 1,721 feet. So 1,721 feet will be your feet, and you will again get 1 mile from here, which will be added to your miles column, and that will become 10 miles, which probably is the next answer, right? So the right answer is A here. That's how you always deal with the compound units when you have multiple, but remember, you always start from the right side, which will be the lowest unit out of all. Any question here? Let's check some example of subtraction. Okay, so far what we did was addition, right? Addition of compound units. Now how do you subtract do the subtraction of compound units? For an example, you are subtracting, let's say 4 years, you are subtracting this 3 years 2 feet from 5 years 1 feet. So let's say I wrote there, but the problem is you have 4 feet, you have 1 feet here, but in the subtrahend you have 2 feet. So first of all, you cannot subtract 2 feet from 1 feet. So you have to borrow. Where do you borrow? You will borrow from the year. Now you will borrow 1. So you have 5 years. You borrow 1, it becomes 4 years. But since you borrowed 1 year, you will have to add 3 feet here, because 1 yard means what? 3 feet, right? So what I'm saying is, you borrow 1 yard and you add 3 feet here, because 1 yard means 3 feet, right? The reason you are doing it, because you cannot subtract 2 feet from 1 feet. So you add 3 feet, that becomes 4 feet. Now you are ready to subtract, because 2 feet can be subtracted from 1 feet. After this subtraction, you get 2 feet, and here, since you borrowed 1 year, you will be left with 4 years, and you are subtracting 3 years, so it will be 1 year left. So the answer would be 1 yard 2 feet. Let's look at a couple of quizzes, see whether we understand this problem. Let's say you are subtracting these. First of all, the problem is you are trying to subtract 3 quart from 2 quart, which is not possible, right? You cannot subtract 3 from 2. So again, you need to borrow, right? So you will borrow from where? From the left side, right? Meaning from the gallon column. And you will be always what? You will be doing what? You will borrow 1 gallon. Now once you borrow 1 gallon, the 5 gallon will become 4 gallon. But how much quart will be here? You have 2 quart here, but since you borrowed 1 gallon equals to 4 quart, which is given here in the question. So you'll be adding 4 quart, right? That makes it 6 quart, because you had 2, now you added 4. So the right answer is C. So now you have 6 quart here and you are subtracting 3 quart, right? Which is okay, right? You can do this. After you do this, what will be your, so you see here now is pretty much ready. You can subtract it, because you can subtract 6 quart from, 3 quart from 6, which will give you 3 quart, right? And 2 minus 4, 4 minus 2. So the right answer is A. Excuse me. Any question here? Let's try another example. Let me give you a minute so that we can do it ourselves and see what is the answer. So you borrow 1 gallon here, so that becomes 9 gallon. We have 1 quart here, you add 4 quart, right? That becomes 5 quart. This 9 gallon 5 quart, which is the last one. Now you are ready to subtract, right? that becomes 3/4, 6 gallon. So the right answer is D again. Now we'll see how we do the multiplication of the compound units. We did the subtraction. Okay. Now there might be two different types of multiplication. One is you multiply any compound number by a constant number. For an example, here we are trying to multiply these by 2. 2 is just a number, right? No unit, which is like a bit of safe, so you don't care about the unit here. But for the multiplication, what do? You have 9.5, you multiply it, you make it 19 inch, 2 feet makes it 4 inch, 2 years make it 4 years. But once you have this, you have to be a little bit careful because it's 19 inch. Remember, 12 inch make a feet, right? So you have to do the math again. So you'll have to subtract. So pretty much 19 inch means what? 1 feet 7 inch, right? Okay. So similarly, in the 4 feet you have what? 1 yard, 1 feet, right? Because 3 feet makes a yard. So see, we wrote here 4 feet equals to 1 yard, 1 feet. 19 inch equals to 1 feet 1 inch. So you have 7 inch here. In case of feet, you have 1 feet here, you have 1 feet here. So you'll be adding these 2 feet, which makes it 2 feet. In case of yard, you have 1 yard here, you have 4 yards in the original question. You add both yard, that makes it 5 yard. So the multiplication is like you first multiply and then you see how you convert, but you have to start conversion from the right side. Excuse me. So to divide is again a little bit tricky, because division we start from the left side. We always divide, and after the division, whatever you have left, you add it to the right side. Now for an example here, let's say you are dividing this 5 yard 2 feet 7 inch by 2. So we start from the left side. So let's say by 2. So you'll be dividing just like a third grader. For an example, let's say if you divide 5 feet by 2, how much you get? 5 yard, you're dividing it by 2. So it's 2 times 2 is 4 yard, right? But you are left with 1 yard. So your answer is going to be 2 yard, but whatever you are left with, meaning the remainder, this is your remainder, right? You'll convert that to the next lower unit. What is the next lower here? Feet, right? So you are left with 1 yard as remainder. So what we did is, we divided 5 yard by 2, we got 2 years, and the remainder, which is 1 yard, we converted that 1 yard into feet. Now you see, you had 2 feet and you got 3 feet here. You added the total feet to get 5 feet. Now you divide 5 feet by 2 again. Same problem. You'll be left with 2 feet, and there will be 1 feet remainder, and then that remainder will again convert it to the next lower feet, so lower unit, which is inch. 1 feet is 12 inch. You had 7 inch in the question, right? You had 7 inch here, you got 12 inch here, so you add them to make it 19 inch. Now you again divide 19 inch by 2. Now you don't have anything left in the right side, so that is the lowest unit in the question. So just divide it as it is. So 19 inch divided by 2 make it 9.9 half, right? So your inch is 9.5 inch. So the final answer, 2 yard, 2 feet, 9.5 inch. But be careful, division, you start from the left side, meaning you start from the largest unit, because out of like yard, feet and inch, yard is the bigger unit, right? But everything else, we started from the left side. I'm saying the right side. The division, we start from the left side. Any question here? Let's check another example. Divide the 7 yard by 2. I'm sorry, by 3. So start from 7 yard. Divided by 3, you get 2 yard. You have 1 remainder. You add the remainder with the feet, right? 1 yard equals to what? 3 feet. That makes it 5 feet. Now you divide 5 feet by 3, you get 1 feet as remainder. You had 2 feet in the question. I'm sorry, 2 feet in the question, you have 2 feet remainder. That makes, I'm sorry, oh, you have 2 feet here, but you have remainder 1 feet. You convert the 1 feet into inch, right? So, I'm sorry, 2 feet remainder that convert into inch, which is 24 inch. You divide 24 inch by 3, that makes it 8 inch. But if you look at carefully, in the original question there was no inch. But after the division we got inch. That's possible as well. Because you had 2 feet remainder and you had to divide by 3. So that's why we divided 2 feet into inch and then we divided. That will make it 2 yard, 1 feet, 8 inch. Because this was the remainder, 2 feet was the remainder, and you could not divide 2 feet by 3, right? I'm saying that will give you a fraction. So that's why you converted 2 feet into inch, which is the next lower unit. Let's look at some example. Let's say you want to divide this. 8 gallon, 1 quart. Okay. Now 8 gallon is easy because you start from 8 gallon, right? If you divide 8 gallon by 2, you get what? 4 gallon. Very simple. So no remainder. You are safe. But when you divide the quart, 1 quart, you cannot divide it by 2, right? So what you can do is you can convert. So it's basically half quart, right? But we choose half quart because that's how the answer is given. So the right answer is first one, 4 gallon half quart. Okay? But there is a possibility that instead of quart, your question answer was given in as pint. Then you have to convert the quart into pint, which is like 1 quart equals to 2 pint, and then you divide it by 2. But now you have that answer given. So the right answer is A. So you divide 8 gallon by 2, you get 4 gallon. You divide 1 quart by 2, you get half quart. Straight. Any question here? Here is the another one. So you have 1 quart here. If you try to divide it by 2, but we said reduce the answer to the smallest unit. So the next smaller unit is what? Pint. So 1 quart is 2 pint. Now you divide 2 pint by 2, which make it 1 pint, right? So the right answer is this, B. 4 gallon, 1 pint, right? Because you could not divide 1 quart, so you converted 1 quart into pint, which is 2 pint. Now you divide 2 pint by 2, which is 1 pint. So you don't have any quart left, right? Because all quarts are converted to pints. So 4 gallon, 1 pint. Let's see, 15 gallon, 2 quart. You start from here. You divide 15 gallon by 2. You'll be left with what? 7 gallon. But remember, there will be 1 gallon remainder, right? 7 times 2 is what? 40. But the gallon is 15. That 1 gallon will now be converted to what? You are dividing 15 gallon by 2. 15 gallon by 2, you get 7 gallon. Remainder 1 gallon, which is 4 quart. Is given in the question, right? 1 gallon is to 4 quart. So in the original question, you have already 2 quart. So the total quart is 2 quart plus, that makes it 6 quart. Now you divide it by 2. That makes it 3 quarts. So this is one part and this is the other part, right? 7 gallon, 3 quart. So the right answer is C, right? Any question? Let's try another one. Now here, change these to years. That's possible. So you have 7 feet as year, so you don't have to worry about the 7 years in years. So you don't have to worry about this, but you have to change the feet into yard. You have to change the inch into yard. Now how do you change the feet into yard? So, remember the first things we just learned today? That convert the feet into yard using the conversion factor, right? This is the conversion factor between yard and feet. But we want to cancel feet, right? And we just get rid of feet. We did the math and we got 1.667 years. And in case of inch, we first converted the inch to feet and then feet to yard. And we wrote the conversion factor such that everything get cancelled except the yard. At the end, this is the yard you are left with. So this is 1 yard, this is another yard, and it's the original yard. You add all the yards at the end, you get the final yard. Now this means you converted the whole compound unit into one single unit, which is yard. But technically that is the same thing. 8.973 yard means actually 7 yard, 5 feet, 11 inch. Any question here? So sometimes we also have to convert the time zones because of travel, right? That's similar conversion type. So in such cases, in some cases we also use the military time, which is given as a 4-place number. Like for an example, the midnight is 0000, noon is 1200. They keep counting, right? Noon is 1200, and after noon you just add 100 for every hour, right? So 1200 is noon. 1 o'clock means what? 1300. 2 o'clock means 1400. 3 o'clock 1500. You will go all the way to 2300, which is 11 p.m. at night, and then it reset to 000 when you hit midnight, right? So let's go to the quiz section. Okay, in pause. For this chapter, remember this is chapter 7, and let's finish all the quizzes for chapter 7.